Julia Simmons resided in the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, in a 3-bedroom house with Stephen Nichols, a divorced day trader. Their paths crossed when Julia was searching for a rental place online, and she found Stephen to be charming and pleasant. As they cohabited, Stephen had the opportunity to meet Julia's 20-year-old daughter, Rhonda. Despite the 10-year age gap, Stephen found Rhonda to be the epitome of beauty. Her captivating appearance was complemented by an extraordinary personality. To Stephen's surprise, Rhonda reciprocated his interest, leading them to embark on a romantic relationship. Over time, their bond deepened, prompting the decision to live together. Consequently, Rhonda relocated to Stephen's condominium. Throughout their courtship, Stephen formed a strong connection with Rhonda's family. Despite their enduring commitment, Stephen and Rhonda never tied the knot, leaving Rhonda to ponder the possibilities of marriage. Her friends believed she held on to hope for this union. Stephen assured her that they would marry according to his timeline, specifically in the summer of 2009. However, they did have a daughter together, and motherhood became the most fulfilling aspect of Rhonda's life. Her daughter became the center of her universe, and Rhonda cherished every precious moment spent with her. She embraced the role of being a mother wholeheartedly. While Rhonda relished her time as a mother, she also yearned to reignite her modeling career. Stephen claimed that after giving birth, Rhonda struggled with her weight and felt unattractive. In an effort to shed the extra pounds, they made a commitment to embark on a journey of hiking Oregon's 25 best trails together. Despite the challenges of parenthood, Stephen expressed satisfaction with the state of their relationship, highlighting the rarity of their disagreements. He was convinced that their bond had grown stronger than ever before. However, Rhonda's friends had a different account to share. They disclosed that Rhonda had confided in them about Stephen's abusive behavior. Rhonda had even taken pictures of her bruised back, using a mirror to document the aftermath of a fight with Stephen. On March 16, 2009, Stephen and 23-year-old Rhonda went on a hike along the Eagle Creek Trail. While making their way down the trail, Rhonda snapped a photo of Stephen using her cell phone. Prior to their hike, Rhonda jokingly texted her mother saying, "He's either going to propose or push me off a cliff." The weather was delightful as they continued their stroll, but Stephen later claimed that Rhonda started behaving oddly. According to Stephen, Rhonda asked him what he would do if something were to happen to her and if he would take care of their daughter. He replied, "Of course." As the weather took a turn for the worse, Stephen informed Rhonda that it was time to head back. However, instead of turning around, Stephen alleged that Rhonda wrapped a towel around her shoulders, proclaimed herself as Supergirl, and began running down the narrow, slippery path. Stephen stated that he witnessed Rhonda slip and fall over the edge of the Eagle Creek Trail, plummeting approximately 150 feet. After Rhonda's fall, Stephen claimed that he descended to the ravine where she had landed because he couldn't get a cell signal and cradled her lifeless body. He attempted to call 911, but he had no service, leaving him with no choice but to leave her behind. According to Stephen, he walked back to the trailhead where he finally managed to contact emergency services. Later that day, rescue workers recovered Rhonda's body. Rhonda's family attested that Stephen displayed no emotion during her memorial service. However, Stephen contradicted this claim and insisted that he cried incessantly. He explained that when he becomes extremely sad, he withdraws from others and prefers solitude. Shortly after Rhonda passed away, Stephen gathered their belongings and relocated with their daughter to the other side of Oregon, near his own family. This sudden move raised suspicions among Rhonda's family, who began to question what had transpired between Stephen and Rhonda leading up to her death. In 2006, Stephen made a significant decision to move from the United States to China, marking the start of a new chapter in his life. Accompanied by his young daughter, Stephen chose to settle in Wuxi, a city situated approximately 75 miles outside of Shanghai. Having previously lived in China during his first marriage, Stephen had developed a deep affection for the country and its people. While residing in China, Stephen secured a job teaching English to Chinese business professionals. His daughter quickly adapted to life in China and became fluent in Mandarin within just 2 months of their relocation. Both Stephen and his daughter thrived in their new environment. During their time in China, Stephen encountered a woman named Landy Yin Yan, with whom he fell deeply in love. Landy and his daughter formed a strong bond, with Landy assuming the role of a mother figure. Stephen greatly appreciated Landy's willingness to embrace her parental role towards his daughter. After a year of dating, Stephen decided to take their relationship to the next level by proposing to Landy. To his joy, she accepted his proposal. In February 2015, Stephen and his daughter returned to the United States to prepare for their upcoming wedding. They planned to have 2 ceremonies, one in America and one in China, to accommodate both of their families and friends. Stephen and his daughter arrived in the United States a day before his fiancée. However, as they disembarked the plane in San Francisco to catch their connecting flight to Oregon, an officer approached Stephen and informed him that there was an issue with his bag, resulting in his detainment. Little did he know that this encounter would set in motion a series of events that would forever alter his life. Minutes later, law enforcement arrived and separated Stephen from his daughter. Unbeknownst to him, during his time in China, detectives had been diligently investigating his girlfriend, Rhonda's death. Suspicious circumstances surrounding Rhonda's fall from Eagle Creek led them to continue the investigation, ultimately concluding that Stephen was responsible for her death. Rhonda's mother played a crucial role in keeping the investigation active, constantly reaching out to the detectives for updates. Stephen was arrested at the airport for Rhonda's murder and extradited to Oregon. Upon his arrest, Stephen expressed disbelief, hoping it was all a dream and that he would wake up in China with Landy by his side. However, the reality of the situation soon set in. Initially set at $2 million, Stephen's bail was later reduced to $250,000, which his attorney managed to secure. He was then released with an ankle monitor, awaiting trial after spending 14 months behind bars. The news of Stephen's arrest brought a sense of relief and closure to Rhonda's family, who had been grieving her loss for years. Rhonda's mother, in particular, was overwhelmed with emotion upon hearing the news and broke down in tears. Following his arrest, Stephen's legal team visited the Eagle Creek Trail to conduct experiments in an effort to prove to the court that Rhonda's fall was accidental and not the result of foul play. Stephen's defense attorney highlighted the popularity of the trail in the Columbia River Gorge due to its scenic beauty. During one of Stephen's initial court appearances, the medical examiner who conducted Rhonda's autopsy following her fall from Eagle Creek determined that all of Rhonda's injuries were located below her waist. This finding played a crucial role in Stephen's defense strategy, allowing them to argue that Rhonda had taken her own life. The defense team contended that Rhonda's broken pelvis was caused by the impact of hitting the ground, and that evidence suggested she fell feet first, rather than head over heels as if she had been pushed. Along with presenting evidence related to Rhonda's injuries, the defense team aimed to introduce notes from her therapy sessions as evidence. These notes indicated that Rhonda was experiencing depression but had never voiced any intentions of self-harm. Moreover, Rhonda herself had described her relationship with Stephen as devoid of love. The defense team argued that Rhonda's depression and her description of the relationship were signs that she had made the decision to end her own life. By presenting this information, they sought to raise doubts about the prosecution's claim that Stephen had pushed Rhonda, resulting in the fatal injuries. Stephen later alleged that Rhonda had a history of depression and suicide attempts prior to their relationship. However, Rhonda's family refuted these claims and accused Stephen of fabricating stories. They asserted that Stephen was deflecting blame onto Rhonda for her own death, as they believed he was responsible for her demise. According to Stephen, Rhonda had struggled with substance abuse since the age of 12, experimenting with various drugs. Nevertheless, The medical examiner's report only revealed minimal traces of marijuana, and the prescription medication Rhonda was taking for anxiety and depression related to postpartum issues. The preliminary hearings uncovered disturbing evidence regarding Stephen's involvement in the case. Stephen's involvement in a romantic relationship with Melanie, Rhonda's 16-year-old sister, was recently brought to light. This revelation caused quite a stir, considering the significant age difference between Stephen, who was in his 30s, and Melanie, who was still a minor. The prosecution argued that Stephen's inappropriate relationship with Melanie could potentially serve as a motive for Rhonda's murder. Rhonda had discovered Stephen's deceitful actions, which created tension and a possible motive for her murder. Following his arrest for Rhonda's murder, Stephen was charged with 2 counts of third-degree sexual assault and 3 counts of third-degree sodomy related to his relationship with Melanie Casto, Rhonda's sister, and his girlfriend. While awaiting trial for Rhonda's murder in 2005, Stephen pleaded guilty to 2 counts of sexual abuse. In his statement, Stephen admitted to having sexual intercourse with Melanie twice. However, he later claimed that he was coerced into confessing and that his admission was false. Stephen explained that he only pleaded guilty because it would allow him to fight for custody of his daughter. He expressed desperation and a strong desire to be reunited with his child. On the other hand, the prosecution argued that Stephen and Melanie's relationship had lasted for over 4 years. Eventually, Stephen admitted to having a sexual relationship with Rhonda's teenage sister. The prosecution presented a text message from Rhonda to Melanie, which revealed Rhonda's disdain for Stephen and accused him of using Melanie to hurt her. Rhonda's mother confirmed that Rhonda was aware of Stephen's attempts to drive a wedge between her and Melanie. She asserted that Rhonda loved her younger sister and wanted to mend their relationship. According to the state, the relationship between Rhonda and Stephen was far from ideal, contrary to Stephen's claims. The court was presented with additional evidence that shed light on Stephen's troubled sexual history. It was revealed that shortly after Rhonda, the mother of his daughter, passed away, Stephen was arrested and faced charges of sexual abuse involving a 13-year-old girl. Stephen vehemently denied these allegations, asserting his innocence. However, he later admitted to sending a sexually suggestive text message and an inappropriate picture to the victim, acknowledging the wrongful nature of his actions. Consequently, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of sexual harassment. During one of Stephen's preliminary hearings, the state submitted photographs taken by Rhonda, which documented her bruised back. Additionally, Rhonda's best friend testified that she had witnessed several fights between Rhonda and Stephen while on the phone with her, as their arguments could be heard in the background. Furthermore, Stephen's ex-wife provided testimony, alleging that he had attempted to suffocate her and throw her off the balcony of their 4th-floor apartment in November 2003. However, Stephen was not charged with any crime in relation to this incident and denied the accusations. Rhonda's family firmly believes that Stephen, her boyfriend, was responsible for her untimely demise. They suspect that he murdered her to collect the life insurance policy he had taken out on her, which he had recently increased. Rhonda's mother expressed her concerns, pointing out that Stephen had suffered significant financial losses through day trading the previous year and was not financially stable. Moreover, everyone who knew Rhonda can attest to her deep love for her 9-month-old daughter, making it highly unlikely that she would have taken her own life by jumping from Eagle Creek. In May 2017, Rhonda's family received a shocking and horrifying revelation. The state had organized a meeting with the defense and reached an agreement. Stephen, the accused, pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. Although the state believed he had committed murder, they acknowledged the weak case against him due to the lack of physical evidence proving his involvement in pushing her from the trail at Eagle Creek. Stephen received credit for the time he had already served while awaiting trial, but he was required to remain on parole for 3 years. After having his ankle monitor removed, he was released from custody. However, Rhonda's family and friends strongly believed that Stephen accepting a plea deal did not serve justice. They firmly believed that he should have faced more severe consequences for his actions. During Stephen's sentencing hearing, Rhonda's sister delivered an impactful statement expressing her anger and frustration towards him. She made it clear that he had not only destroyed her entire family, but also caused immense pain and sorrow. Rhonda's mother also expressed her confusion and frustration, unable to comprehend how Stephen could have taken her daughter away, leaving their family shattered. Stephen claimed that he did not push Rhonda and accepted the deal because time was running out for him to regain custody of his daughter. He stated that he was willing to face the consequences of his actions for the sake of his child. However, despite Stephen's claims, Rhonda's family and friends remained unconvinced. In a 2018 interview, Stephen made a startling allegation regarding Rhonda's fate. He claimed that on the day of her fatal fall, she was still alive when he hiked down Eagle Creek Trail and discovered her. The interviewer then questioned Stephen about whether he had put Rhonda out of her misery that day. Stephen posed a hypothetical question to the interviewer, asking if it would be considered murder if one were to shoot their war buddy out of compassion for their suffering. He contended that while such an act could be seen as a justifiable homicide, it would still be classified as a homicide. Although Stephen never explicitly confessed to causing harm to Rhonda, his remarks hinted at the possibility of his involvement in her demise. In 2017, Rhonda's mother sought Social Security survivor benefits for Rhonda's infant daughter. She claimed that her granddaughter resided with her and pledged to utilize the benefits solely for the child's well-being. However, the state alleged that from April 2010 to December 2014, when Rhonda's mother asserted that the young girl lived with her, she had actually been residing with her father, Stephen. Consequently, the state pressed charges against Rhonda's mother for embezzling government funds amounting to nearly $40,000 over a span of 5 years. Rhonda's mother's defense attorneys argued that her actions were motivated by her determination to prevent Stephen from gaining custody of their daughter and taking advantage of the $1 million life insurance policy he had on Rhonda's life. The defense contended that she was driven by her desire to protect her granddaughter and ensure that she was not exploited. They also highlighted her history of depression, which worsened after her daughter's death, leading her to rely on marijuana as a form of self-medication. According to the defense team, the drug served as a crutch, clouding her judgment and impairing her ability to think clearly. The judge ultimately sentenced Rhonda's mother, who was 53 years old at the time, to 1 month in a halfway house and 3 years of probation after she pleaded guilty to the theft of government funds. In addition to the jail time and probation, she was ordered to repay the stolen benefits totaling $39,124. Since October 2015, Rhonda and Stephen's daughter had been in foster care under the custody of the Department of Human Services. This decision was made after Stephen pleaded guilty to sexual abuse involving a 13-year-old girl, resulting in the termination of his parental rights by the Oregon court. However, Stephen appealed this ruling.